After my family turned against me, I found strength in unlikely places. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My mother typed 4 words: "Do not come back." The screen glow washes my face in the break room of the night shift grocery where I stock produce and count bruised peaches like I'm counting breaths. I'm Mara, 30, the one who shows up, who knows which neighbors pay in quarters and which prefer the self-checkout because it feels like privacy. My job matters because it keeps rent paid and the lights on, because the quiet hours after midnight are when lonely people talk and I practice listening. The text isn't a fight, it's a verdict. Beneath it, Victor's message blooms: "Stop poisoning the family, Mara." I read it 3 times, then clock in early. A bus driver named Kay hands me a thermos at 2:11 a.m. "You look like you need heat." I do. I think about the last time the whole family stood in a church basement, laughing over paper plates. I think about Elise, my older sister, whose voice was shaking on Sunday when she said, "Mara, just lay low for a while, please." This isn't laying low. This is exile by text. Somewhere in me, stubbornness sparks. If I'm banned, I want to know why. If I'm the poison, I want to see the lab report. I stack apples, line them like soldiers, and promise myself I'll get facts before feelings. Across my phone, a pinned voice memo waits. Dad's 65th birthday speech, recorded in August, when I still belonged. I hit play and hear clinking glasses and a single sentence Victor shouted that I didn't catch that night. The sentence rewinds my whole life. And then, in the hiss of the store vents, a plan I don't yet understand begins breathing beside me. I press pause as a new notification arrives with my name misspelled on purpose. Someone is rewriting me in real time, and I need their fingerprints. Before the rupture, our house had a script. Victor dazzled. Elise mediated. I tidied the mess after. Aunties called him born to lead, which to Victor meant excused from apologizing. He learned the geometry of rooms early, where to stand so light kissed his cheekbones, when to raise a toast, how to fold a lie into a compliment. Elise and I shared a bunk bed and a pact. No secrets. Time freighted. By high school, Victor ran the youth fundraiser. I folded chairs. "You're reliable," he'd say, like it was my face and not a choice. At Christmas last year, he caught me labeling leftovers for the elders and whispered, "Saint Mara, patron of casseroles." Then louder, "Some of us aim higher." Everyone laughed. Fine. I didn't need lofty. I needed steady. 3 weeks ago, a fresh wound. I showed up after my shift to Mom's birthday with a cake I bought on employee discount and a pocket notebook of bills, trying to ask, quietly, if I could borrow $200 until Friday. Victor intercepted. "Budgeting is adulting," he said, clinking ice. "Maybe if you picked a real career, you'd stop panhandling us." Mom stared at the floor. Elise squeezed my hand under the table and mouthed, "Later." No later came. On Monday, a rumor sprouted that I'd cursed out a donor in the church parking lot. I don't even curse. By Thursday, someone shared screenshots of me calling our pastor a thief. The font looked wrong, the cadence off, like karaoke with the vocals ahead of the beat. Still, the damage landed. Victor's final text the night of the banishment said, "Get help." I heard the unspoken, "Don't ask questions." And then a second unspoken, "Don't follow the money behind the questions." Victor's smile hit a ledger, and I just spotted its first column. The first red flags weren't red, they were beige, easy to ignore. On June 14th, our family foundation reimbursed Victor $1,240 for event supplies. Even though the event, Senior Neighbor Day, used donated sandwiches and balloons I hauled from the store at cost. I only noticed because Ms. Reyes, who runs the community center, asked me to staple minutes into packets, and I'm nosy in the way careful people are. The PDF showed another reimbursement on July 2nd, $680 to V. Hale via mobile deposit for volunteer appreciation gifts. I was at that appreciation dinner. We handed out thrifted scarves. No receipts. No gifts. I told myself I misread. By August, the church basement flooded during a storm, and Victor posed with a wet vacuum for Instagram. Later that week, the foundation covered $1,950 in equipment rentals, though MS. Reyes texted me a photo of the borrowed vacuums labeled Property of City Parks. Beige, beige, beige. I let it slide. Then came the edited screenshots of my supposed rant about fake donors. The edges were fuzzy, the timestamps overlapped. I shrugged, then didn't. On September 8th at 4:17 p.m., I received a voice note from a number saved as board admin saying, "We're concerned about your disruptive behavior, but the Real board admin, Helen, is 72 and types with one finger. She doesn't voice note." That night, I caught Victor archiving our family chat mid-argument, then reposting a summary of what I said that included words I never use, like sycophant. By the time the process server showed up at Ms. Reyes's office asking for someone authorized to accept financial correspondence for the foundation, my stomach learned a new knot. The next morning, a duplicate receipt number blinked at me from a spreadsheet like a lighthouse. 2 different reimbursements shared one receipt, and neither should exist. Escalation came wrapped in celebration. At Dad's belated birthday in the church basement, strings of lights, sheet cake, borrowed projector. I stood near the coffee urn while Victor performed. "To family," he said, holding up a glass as if it were a mirror. He thanked donors, praised transparency, and slid in a joke about me fact-checking feelings that got a laugh. 40 minutes later, during the slideshow, my phone buzzed with a bank voicemail regarding disputed activity from the Community Uplift account ending 9923. I wasn't on that account. Why did the bank call me? I stepped into the hallway to listen, heart pounding against cinder block. The voicemail mentioned my name as the contact for a reimbursement inquiry filed by M. Alvarez, which is me, except I never filed anything. When I returned, Victor typed something on his phone, then whispered to Elise, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Let it go," she murmured to me when I approached. "It's handled." Ms. Reyes leaned close and said, "Handled by who?" In the cake line, I overheard a donor asking Victor about the roof repair, $12,000. He claimed, paid in full. I had seen a city grant cover that, with receipts. The projector glitched, and in that glitch, I caught Victor watching me like he'd heard a tap under the floorboards. Later, outside, he stepped into my path. "You look tired," he said softly, then louder for listeners. "We're all under stress, but Mara's taking it hard." The pity wasn't for me. It was a muzzle. When I got home, a lawyer's letter waited on my doormat, addressed wrong but close enough to land. Someone wants me silent, and they just chose the legal route. The letter claimed I defamed Victor by spreading harmful allegations about his fiduciary conduct. I laughed, then didn't. He'd lawyered up before I'd spoken. Elise called that night, breathless. "It's getting messy," she said. "Please don't make it messy, eh?" I asked, by asking what happened to the money. She flinched over the line. "Just don't show up for a while." The group chat ban followed, then Mom's 4 words. I packed a tote, texted my landlord I might be late on rent, and took the last bus across town. The driver, Kay again, gave me an extra stop near the community center's side gate. "You're the apple girl," she said. "People who carry fruit at night are either saints or grieving." I slept 2 hours on Ms. Reyes's office couch, then reported to my shift. Ms. Reyes brewed coffee that tasted like resolve. "Document," she said, sliding me a notebook. "Dates, screenshots, where you got each thing." The truth doesn't shout, it accumulates. She let me borrow her spare room for a week. We set ground rules: dishes, quiet hours, no martyrdom. The first night, I cried into a towel so my body wouldn't wake the house. The second night, I stacked proof instead of plates. On September 14th, I found 2 reimbursements, $940 and $1,240, with identical receipt numbers and a signature that looped the RN Reyes wrong. On September 17th, a burner email, board finance at post.com, forwarded me a thread where Victor wrote in bullet points like a CEO cosplaying honesty. My paycheck posted, my rent didn't. Ms. Reyes knocked on my door. "We can get you a food voucher," she said. "Pride is heavy to carry when you're hungry." I circled a name on a ledger, V. Hale, then saw where the trail might actually lead. The initials weren't Victor's alone, and someone else wore my signature. V. Hale could be Victor. Our last name is Hale. But the reimbursements alternated V. Hale and Victor H., like someone forging while Googling how to forge. One memo line read, "Refund, M. Alvarez complaint. Timestamp 10:06 a.m. On a day I clocked into work at 9:58 a.m. with biometric punch." The times overlapped wrong. I couldn't have filed a complaint by 10:06 if I was counting lettuce by 10:04. Then there was the burner email alias, Board Finance, writing in stilted formality, copying admin Helen at a Yahoo account I knew wasn't hers because she refuses to use anything she calls fancy internet. I grabbed bus schedules, printed bank statements Ms. Reyes had access to through a grant audit, and built a map on the floor, dates, amounts, who signed. I kept my phone in airplane mode, recording voice memos to myself like an investigator in a thrifted coat. At 1:22 a.m., I found something that made me sit up. A duplicate receipt attached to 2 different reimbursements was originally a vendor invoice from City Parks Equipment Rental, but the PDF metadata listed creator, Victor Hellenders for iPhone. I might not be a tech expert, but I know document properties. I wrote down the exact line. Creator, Victor Hellenders, modified, September 5th, 2113. My stomach dropped. I wanted to run to Elise. Instead, I emailed myself the screenshots, then slid them into a folder labeled Simple Truths. Ms. Reyes found me at dawn. You need someone to verify, she said. I know a lawyer who hates liars more than bills. Her name was Priya Shah, and she answered her phone like she'd been waiting. Priya asked one question that cracked the story's shell wide open. Priya's office smelled like dry paper and lemon. She listened without interrupting, then said, "Show me the receipts, and tell me where each came from." I did. She nodded. Okay, we verify the source of every document. Screenshots are feelings, originals are facts. With Ms. Reyes's help, we requested the community center's audit exports. We walked into the bank with a folder and the politeness of people who know clerks are the real gatekeepers. A teller named Mike recognized me from late-night coin deposits. You doing okay? He asked. I said, trying. He whispered, ask for Sarah. She handles nonprofits. Sarah printed transaction histories for the foundation account that were public to signatories. Victor had added himself as interim treasurer in May, right when the reimbursement spiked. Outside, my phone buzzed from an unknown number. Stop snooping, the voice said. People make mistakes. I saved it. Priya smiled grimly. Intimidation is a confession in costume. We met an ex-volunteer who left after budget disagreements. She showed us a spreadsheet of reimbursements submitted at 2 a.m. with rounded amounts, $500, $700, $1,000, like tips on a lie. The timestamps didn't match Victor's public alibi posts. On nights he claimed to be meeting donors, he was uploading PDFs from his iPhone on our Wi-Fi. Priya sent a preservation letter to the bank and the foundation board. We don't accuse, she said. We request safeguards. That night, I returned to Ms. Reyes's spare room, sat on the carpet, and listened to Kay's bus rumble past like a heartbeat. Then I noticed a gap in the ledger exactly where my name supposedly appeared. Someone inserted me into the story, then deleted the trail at the source. The mini-twist didn't explain why, only what. We confirmed donation skimming. Small amounts shaved from cash fundraisers, then reimbursed to Victor for items we never bought. A $320 banner that never hung. A $290 sound system repair for a borrowed speaker. On August 12th, $1,050 flowed to V. Hale labeled transport crates, though I moved those crates myself in Ms. Reyes's hatchback. Worse, a line on August 20th, $2, $400 emergency relief, transferred to an account with my initials M.A. Last 4/17/71. Except my account ends in 4417. The digits were reversed. Priya breathed out slowly. That's not a mistake, she said. That's camouflage. The stakes jumped from hurt feelings to crimes with victims. The seniors we promised winter coats, the kids waiting for sports fees. Mom's savings Victor convinced her to route, temporarily, through the Foundation for Interest Benefits. Elise's mortgage payment, delayed until the fundraiser clears, sat on a calendar square like a countdown. I felt grief and fury braid. Victor wasn't just protecting status. He was shifting weight onto people who couldn't carry it. I stared at a church bulletin announcement for next Sunday, board appreciation dinner. My face burned. I wasn't angry at hunger anymore. I was angry at theft wearing gratitude like a suit. Still, I didn't know the why, the engine driving him, the pit he was feeding. A late-night notification finally showed me what monster his lies were feeding. At 12:41 a.m., Victor posted a story from a casino, captioned, Investor Night, with chips stacked like promises. MS. Reyes whispered, "There's your why." Priya nodded. Addiction plus access equals victims. I didn't sleep. I laid out the plan like groceries on a belt. Gather originals, bank exports, board minutes, vendor confirmations, capture metadata, record a call. At 9:05 a.m., I called Victor and put my phone on speaker with Priya present. "I'm worried, Vic," I said. "These reimbursements look off." He chuckled. "You wouldn't understand nonprofit finance." Priya scribbled, "Keep him talking." I said, "Then explain why the city parks invoice was created on your phone." Silence. Then, smooth. "We use templates. Everyone does." He pivoted. "Look, I can fix this. Drop your little crusade." I said nothing. He continued, "Mom's going to lose it if you keep going. Elise is already fraying." He ended with, "Be a team player." I hit stop. Priya rubbed her temples. "We go through official channels. Invite Elise to witness. No theatrics." MS. Reyes booked a community board session and asked the bank auditor, Sarah, to attend. We prepared a projector, labeled files, and printed a one-page timeline with 3 columns. Date, document, source. On the bus to work, Kay called out, "You got this, Apple Girl." I clutched the pole and breathed. I texted Elise an invitation and waited for the 3 dots to become forgiveness or fury. Elise replied with one sentence that could save or shatter everything tonight. Elise wrote, "I'll come if you promise not to embarrass him." My throat tightened. I typed, "I promise to be factual," and put my phone face down. That evening, Ms. Reyes hosted a small dinner for family, which was code for we need a table and witnesses. Victor arrived early, flowers in hand, charm set to high. He ignored me in the way that forces everyone else to notice me. "Mara," he finally said, "I'm sorry if you felt excluded." He slid a glossy folder toward me. Inside, a drafted public apology from me. "Own your instability," he whispered. "I'll take care of the rest." Elise's eyes begged me to accept. Ms. Reyes touched my wrist. My heart knocked hard enough to bruise. Victor's voice softened. "You can come back from this, kid." He leaned in. "Drop Priya." The room angled. I nearly caved, because I'm tired, and he knows it. Then Ms. Reyes cleared her throat like a church bell. "Dessert," she said, placing down a pie, then a printed agenda for tomorrow's board session. "And copies for all." Victor's smile flickered, candle short. He tried one more time. "Think of Mom," he said. I said, "I am." He said, "Then think of me." I said, "That's the problem." He stood, scraped his chair, and left before coffee. On my way out, a black SUV idled. A man inside raised his phone and snapped a photo. Someone outside the family wants leverage, and they just tagged my face. We didn't call it a trap. We called it a meeting with an agenda and snacks. The community board room buzzed with fluorescent lights and quiet dread. Sarah from the bank set up a small projector. Ms. Reyes arranged folding chairs, 2 rows, nothing dramatic. Priya arrived with a slim binder and the calm of a person who prefers paper to panic. Elise slipped in, hoodie up, eyes red. Victor slid in last, flanked by 2 men I didn't know who wore the cologne of expensive mistakes. "We're here to clarify transactions," Ms. Reyes began. "No accusations today." Priya nodded at me. I opened the timeline. "Each item includes date, document, and source," I said, voice steady-ish. Sarah mirrored my laptop to the screen. "We started small. July 2nd reimbursement with duplicate receipt number, PDF metadata showing creator as Victor Hale_iPhone. Victor smirked. "Templates," Priya said. "Noted." We showed the city parks invoice with mismatched letterhead and the parks department's confirmation. We do not issue PDFs from mobile devices. We showed the August 20th transfer to an M.A. account ending 1771 and Chase's letter confirming the account belonged to M. Ainsley. Elise flinched. "Our aunt's maiden name is Ainsley." "Who is that?" she whispered. Victor's jaw ticked. I breathed. Then Sarah clicked to the ledger page Victor thought no one had. Signatory changes in May, adding Victor Hale, interim treasurer, without a board vote. He stood abruptly, knocking his chair, and said, "This is a coup." Sarah cued the casino clip, and Victor went sheet white before it played. On screen, Victor's Instagram story from 12:41 a.m. Chips stacked, caption, Investor Night. Sarah overlaid timestamps from the bank. A $1,950 withdrawal posted minutes earlier at a casino ATM. Priya kept her voice level. Explain the connection between foundation withdrawals and casino activity. Victor laughed, then turned on me. She's framing me. She's obsessed. I said, explain why my complaint refund went to an account not mine. He pivoted. We help family. Aunt Mona needed cash. Ms. Reyes asked, with donor funds? He snapped, it's all family. The mask slid. He blamed me, then Elise. You always wanted Mara to be the saint, he spat. She's not. She's a clerk. Elise whispered, stop. Victor rounded on Sarah. This is a misunderstanding. Sarah said, we filed a suspicious activity report. Priya projected one last document, an email from Board Finance at Post.com, with IP data tracing back to Victor's condo, and the note, use Mara's initials to diffuse heat. The room inhaled. Elise covered her mouth. You used her name, she said. He said nothing. For the first time, I felt the floor under me. Not vengeance, gravity. I didn't gloat. I didn't cry. I said, return what you took, step down, and apologize. He stared at the carpet like it might open. Then his phone vibrated, and whatever he saw made him bolt for the door. The text he read promised consequences that would hit by morning. Fallout isn't fireworks. It's paperwork and silence. The bank froze the foundation account pending review. The board voted to remove Victor as interim treasurer and appointed Ms. Reyes temporarily. Priya filed a concise report with attachments, receipts, metadata, call transcript. A detective left a card. I went to work, because groceries don't shelve themselves and rent doesn't respect drama. Kay waved me onto the bus for free that night, patting the seat. You look like a lighthouse after a storm, she said. Then came the family reaction. Mom called once, voice strangled. Why did you humiliate us? I said softly. I protected our neighbors. She hung up. Aunt Mona texted, we'll pay it back, don't involve cops, which was not an apology. Elise moved into my world incrementally. First a question mark text, then a link to a therapist directory. Then, can we talk after work? My job hours strained. I swapped shifts, covered for Marco when his kid got sick, and cried in the walk-in cooler because onions don't judge. I paid a price, sleep, comfort, a version of my mother's love. But the center's fall coat drive funded fully, cash, tracked, counted by 3 people, signed across envelopes like we were notarizing kindness. Ms. Reyes taped a sign above her desk. No heroes, only helpers. I stayed late Tuesday to fold scarves. By the time the detective called back, the case had moved beyond family grumbling into statute and consequence. Victor finally reached out to me, and his message wasn't anger, it was panic. Victor's text read, I'll make it right. Please tell them I'm cooperating. I didn't respond. Boundaries feel like cold water until they feel like lungs. Therapy helped. Sliding scale sessions on Thursdays where I learned to name what happened without self-erasure. Manufactured scandal, financial abuse of trust, scapegoating. Ms. Reyes enforced structure. Written agreements for any help I offered family. No more verbal IOUs, no more secrecy. Elise and I met for coffee on October 3rd. She cried into her sleeve. I kept hoping goodness would be enough, she said. It is, I said, but not without receipts. We drafted a plan for Mom's savings. Move funds to a separate bank, 2 signature withdrawals, monthly statements shared. Priya reviewed it pro bono and added a plain language explainer for Mom. At work, I asked for, and got, a small raise to lead the inventory reset, another boundary, advocate for myself in measurable ways. Kay taught me a bus driver's trick for calming spirals. Count green lights between stops. The librarian at the branch near my apartment found me in the stacks and whispered, we saved you a seat whenever you need quiet. Found family, it turns out, arrives in uniforms, bus jackets, name tags, cardigan pockets full of tissues. I kept the apology Victor drafted for me and wrote my own. I'm sorry I stayed small to keep peace. Then the board meeting agenda included a line about restorative steps for harmed neighbors. One stubborn signature still stood between our plan and real protection. Mom signed on October 12th after reading Priya's explainer twice. then once aloud to herself like a spell. I didn't know I could ask questions, she said. You can't, I said. And we will. Elise mailed the paperwork while I sorted apples, each one a small planet with its own bruises. Victor entered a diversion program and paid restitution. I didn't attend the hearing because healing isn't the same as watching the scales tip. I think about the night I was exiled and the hands that caught me. Kay's thermos, Ms. Reyes's spare room, Priya's careful sentences, a bank teller whispering a name. Strength didn't arrive as a roar. It arrived as a roster. If you're listening to this and a smear has you cornered, here's the practical thing. Write everything down: dates, amounts, who said what, where it happened, how you verified it. Ask for originals. Invite witnesses. Keep your voice boring when truth is bright enough. Protect the vulnerable first, including the version of you that believes you. As for family, love them, but don't let love launder harm. Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're scaffolding for a better house. My mother hugged me yesterday in our kitchen and whispered, "You didn't disappear." I smiled. I just learned new directions. Tonight, the bus slows outside my apartment, and Kay flashes the interior lights twice like applause. Somewhere ahead, a green light waits, and I'm steady enough to reach it.